What's going on YouTube? I wanted to show you guys a little bit of what I carry around every day in my bag for the first installment of Nadesit HVAC. So hang with me and we're going to go through and see what I think is essential to carry around for my day in and day out activities. Alright, so this is my bag. I use the Vito Pro Pack Tech Pack. I choose to carry most everything that I'm going to need for diagnostic and service purposes. I know some guys like to be a little bit more minimalist in what they carry day in and day out. I would rather not have to make a trip back to the van, not have to come down off the roof. So I carry anything, I think anything, that I would need in order to conduct a typical maintenance or a service call and perform any sort of diagnostic procedures. Moving into repairs and things like that, I'm fine coming back to the van once I know what I need. You know, I'll gather my plumbing parts or my torches or whatever I might need. But as far as the basic service call, maintenance visit, diagnostic, I want to get in, get out, and be done with it. So I chose to go with the larger backpack instead of like a small tote or more traditional open top electrician's bag, something like that. But starting right here, I have the Milwaukee M12 Impact. I used to carry the Milwaukee M18. I was very satisfied with it as far as a tool goes. I opted to go with this because it's a little bit more compact, it's a little bit lighter, and I like the advantages that I get there. Being able to use the more compact driver with the stubby nut drivers lets me get into places that I just couldn't get with the 18 volt. Also, here in the front part of the pack, I carry my Lil Popper resettable fuse. This is great for doing low voltage diagnostics, going through testing if you've got a short circuit somewhere. Instead of having to throw a whole bunch of fuses in there, you pop this in line into the fuse panel and you're able to go through and find your shorts without burning through a whole bunch of fuses. This is the 3 amp version, but I find that it works just as well on 5 amp circuits as well. I have my headlamp here on the top handle. On the side pouch, I have a roll of electrician's tape, my measuring tape, carry a little cleaning brush, great for brushing out ants out of contactors or any small things that you might need to brush out. Also have a little Larry flashlight from Nebo. It's magnetic, so it sticks to the condensing unit, it sticks to the air handler. It's got 2 brightness intensity modes, which I really like. On the other side, I have another little Larry flashlight. I like to be a little bit redundant, and then especially working at night, it's good to be able to broadcast a little bit wider beam of light. And I have my 2 impact chucks, 5/16 and 1/4 inch in the 6 inch length. Going into the main pocket of the pouch, here in the top portion first, I keep my jumper wires, a couple sets, and my copper tubing cutter, as well as a water key for some of the commercial places that we end up having to go. And then a bag of just random excess parts. There's a couple wire nuts in there, some drywall screws, some drywall inserts, extra set of batteries for a thermostat for the customers. But getting on into the actual tool section of the pouch, I have my Amprobe Amp 25 mini amp clamp. Love this thing. I saw AK review it where he had it hidden in his beard, and I just couldn't stand not owning one myself. I like keeping this on my belt so that I can take a quick measurement. I also use it in conjunction with my main multimeter in order to take the condenser fan and the compressor reading, or a heat strip amp draw, as well as the blower motor. I find that it makes me a little bit more efficient, and I like the ability to take 2 inrush measurements as well if I'm going through and doing a little bit of diagnostic on, you know, something that might be pulling a little bit too much power or blowing a fuse, something to that sort. This is the Amprobe Amp 310 motor maintenance VFD multimeter. It's a great little tool. It does 3-phase rotation if you need to as well. It has the fine amp reading here in the smaller jaw at the top, and then it does the larger, somewhat rougher amp readings there in the middle of the big portion of the jaw. Very happy with that so far, but I've only had it about a week. I replaced my Fieldpiece SC660 multimeter with this because I liked the more compact form factor than what the Fieldpiece was. Fieldpiece is a great meter. I just wanted something a little bit more compact but still multifunctioned. This is the Fieldpiece SRL2 infrared leak detector. This tool is provided by my company. It is a pretty decent piece of equipment, but I find that it's somewhat less reliable and somewhat less resilient than what I'm looking for in a leak detector, because this is really a good money-making tool, right? It helps diagnose some pretty major repairs, point customers in the realm of possibly needing to replace an air conditioning system, and this one just is not reliable enough to me to stake my reputation and my effectiveness as a technician on. This is the 4th unit I've had in about a year and a half. The sensor from Fieldpiece says that it's a 10-year sensor. I keep having to send it in on a warranty claim and get a new one. Like I said, this is my 4th one, and it's nowhere near as sensitive as my H10 Pro. H10 Pro is my go-to leak detector. I saw all the other guys on YouTube are loving the H10 Pro, and I decided that I would give it a shot. In the first month of using the H10 Pro, my leak detection ratio went up significantly versus what I was finding with the Fieldpiece. Maybe I just had a good run of calls. I choose to believe that this is so much more reliable and so much more sensitive than the Fieldpiece. I do carry both of them with me when I go in on a service call, and I've been using the H10 as my main leak detection source, and then going back and trying to confirm it with the Fieldpiece. Many times the Fieldpiece will not alert on the leaks that the H10 Pro has detected in the small leak mode. Once you get into the medium and the large leak mode, the Fieldpiece will hang with the H10 Pro. But when you're looking for a very fine, very minute leak, in my experience, the Fieldpiece just cannot hang anywhere near with the H10 Pro. So I'm willing to trade the once a year sensor maintenance and all those things for the H10 Pro versus, you know, it's supposed to last forever with the Fieldpiece, but it's not as sensitive and not as reliable in my experience. Moving on, I like Milwaukee Tools, as you can tell by my impactor, but I bought the Milwaukee hand tools as well when I started out as a technician, and haven't had any need to replace them. They're great, insulated to 600 volts, they say. I haven't tested it. I don't intend to at the same point, but I have the side dikes, I have the linemen's, the needle nose, and I have the linemen's, and then I have the insulated flat blade and the insulated multi-tip drivers. I had the insulated Phillips. It is somewhere around Savannah, so if you're the guy that found it, you're welcome. I went back and replaced that with an Armstrong Phillips head screwdriver that I had in my garage, and I keep this Armstrong flat blade with me as well for any sort of prying and, you know, breaking open stuck disconnects or taking off doors, whatever, some of the things that are a little bit more stubborn. Also have a Klein 5/16 nut driver and Klein crimpers for my Stay-Cons. Pardon me. This is a Klein Catapult wire stripper. I like this a lot for stripping some of the heavier duty wires. Say we're replacing a contactor or the disconnect or some of, you know, just the larger size power wires. This is very helpful to me. I have a small set of wire strippers as well for control wires and some of the smaller gauge wiring. They're old and they're wore out, but they work, so I haven't had a need to replace them yet. Moving on, I have a large open-ended wrench and a smaller 8-inch open-ended wrench, crescent wrench. I use these, you know, opening service valves, opening the refrigeration ports, taking off the blower wheels, all sorts of things that you're going to use the adjustable wrench for. I said open-ended wrench, I meant adjustable wrench, I'm sorry. I also have the Milwaukee channel lock pliers, and then this is a set of Southwire Pvc cutters. I like having something a little bit smaller than what the ratcheting style will do. And most of what I do day in and day out is going to be residential type HVAC, so we have 3/4 inch drain lines. I don't have a need for cutting 1-inch and larger pipe all that often. And when I do the extra time and a little bit of hassle to cut the larger pipe, I'm willing to trade for having the smaller tool that I can keep in my bag at all times. Moving up a rung, I carry a small little Armstrong Ratchet with some assorted bits there to get into some of the smaller nooks and crannies that maybe I can't get my impact driver or the screwdriver type nut drivers. That works out really well for me. I have a smaller 5/16 nut driver and then the Hillmore 11-in-1. These are my Testo 905i piercing thermometers. This is my day in and day out temperature split Delta T tool. Love these things. They're fantastic. I like the interface of being able to show the customer the temperature split as I'm talking with them and explain to them exactly what's going on, and if there is an issue I can show them the numbers and I can explain to them live what's going on instead of having a couple of the, you know, UEI digital thermometers and then I got to do the math and write it down. To me, it streamlines my process a little bit because I can put the thermometers in, let them do their thing, glance at my phone, check the Delta T because it calculates itself in the Smart Probes app, and I can move on to checking the drain, flushing the drain line, inspecting the air filter, filling out my paperwork, any number of things while I'm waiting for my temperature to come down and stabilize. Got my refrigeration wrench and my inspection mirror here, as well as a Sharpie and a small drill bit to drill access ports to take my temperature measurements. Moving into the back of the bag is where I keep most of my diagnostic, more technical tools. Here, this is just the bag for my new M12 meter. It has the third set of leads and alligator clamp if I ever have to do three-phase rotation or anything like that. It's there, and honestly I still need to refer back to the owner's manual sometimes to figure out what I needed to do. Trying to take an inrush measurement the other day and I just hadn't used that feature yet, so still needed to refer back to the manual. One of my favorite tools is the Testo refrigeration set. I carry this with me in my bag at all times. Like I said, I don't want to get down off a roof. I don't want to go back to the van. If I'm at an apartment complex, I don't want to hike up across the parking lot. If I need to check a charge, if I need to dial in the charge, any sort of processes I can do straight from this bag. The kit comes with the nice carry case as well as a high and low pressure sensor and temperature clamp on both sides. It even comes with extra batteries here in the back when you get it. Really nice piece of equipment that they put together. But one of the things that I've noticed in using it is that this sensor here does not have a low loss fitting like you're used to using on your hoses and your full-size manifolds. So I found myself getting sprayed with a lot of refrigerant and losing skin off my hands a few times when I run into an overcharged system or a system that might be experiencing issues and having a elevated high head pressure, something like that. So what I did is I started carrying these little 6-inch ball valves. I use the yellow and the red. These were in the warehouse at work and nobody claimed them. The blue hose was gone, but yellow and red worked just fine for what I needed to do. Attach the pressure sensor here at the end of the ball valve and then go here with the 45 into the unit. It definitely increases the access of what the pressure module itself will give you. It doesn't have any sort of a 45. It doesn't fit into some areas really well. So having the bend and additional flexibility of the hose really helps, as well as giving you that low loss fitting so that you do not have to lose any skin in the process. Now I do have a charging tee here in the flap of the back of the bag so that I can add refrigerant and adjust charge, remove refrigerant as necessary directly from here. This is basically a full-featured manifold that I can keep in my backpack at all times. Really like that. I keep a little small parts bin of random electrical fittings, fuses, self-tapping screws, etc. Just, you know, that I can make a small repair or even just correct an issue that the customer's not even going to know about, but, you know, just kind of make it right while I'm there. This is the extension wand for my H10 Pro leak detector. Allows me to get to the back of an evaporator coil or down to the bottom of a condenser, around the accumulator, things like that. Very helpful. The H10 Pro has a 4-foot cable on it for the leak detector itself, but I find that the extra extension there helps out a lot. This is my Supco M500 Mega Ohm Meter. Great little tool for diagnosing compressors, and I like the scale that it gives you, red, green, blue, for talking with your customers. It's a little bit more user-friendly for them as far as understanding the data than just giving them a mega ohm number, and it you know, might as well be Greek to them. These are my Testo 605i thermo hygrometers. Give you your dry bulb, wet bulb, relative humidity. Great if you're doing a target superheat on a piston system. Gives you all the information you need to input that into the Testo Smart Probes app. I have the Testo 410i anemometer and the Testo 510i manometer to do gas pressure, static pressure, etc. And this is my Flir One Pro for iOS. It's a thermal camera that you just attach to your iPhone. Very handy, great for doing ductwork inspections or showing customers the overheated motor that you're talking to them about, and really helping them visualize what's going on. I've got a set of Fluke back probes to do electrical diagnostics, digging into the back of a harness or onto some of the electronic boards. Then I have a set of nut drivers, magnetic, 1/2 inch down to 1/4, to take out a compressor, take off the condenser fan motor, take the blower motor off. Sometimes they have a 3/8. Very handy. Keep them with me at all times. Usually the 1/4 and the 5/16 are in my pocket. I like to keep them accessible instead of here in the bag, because I'm going to switch them in and out all day long. And this is also where I keep my adapters for my service wrench, for the service valves, and I also keep my alligator clips back here for my multimeter and my thermocouple temperature sensor for the multimeter as well. I do keep my charging cable for the H10 Pro in the back of the bag too. It does get less sensitive, less effective as the battery drains, so keeping the power cable with me comes out very handy. And from time to time I do use my jumper wires to come off the contactor or off the disconnect to power up my leak detector if there's not a power outlet in the attic. I know the wires aren't rated for that, I got it, but it's what works, it's what I have, and they've never overheated, so I'm fine with it. Also in the flap here, I told you I have my charging tee, but I also have the tubing and fittings for my manometer to do my static pressure readings. Looks like I have a couple extra batteries in here as well. I cannot say enough about the Vito Pro Pack bag. Built well. I started out with a Milwaukee job site pack, which really was fine if all I was carrying was a little bit of hand tools, but as you can tell, I carry a lot, and I didn't have enough space to keep everything as organized as this does, and I was hanging my Impact off of the measuring tape fitting, and I ended up completely tearing it through. So I decided to just go ahead and bite the bullet, move up to the Vito, and I love it. The only problem is that I'm getting close to outgrowing this, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't want to carry around one of the extra large drill bags or whatever, but I am completely in love with your product, Vito. You did a really good job there. So thanks for spending the time with me. I appreciate it. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments. Look forward to interacting with you guys as we move on. Thank you guys. See you next time.